Alrighty, welcome to another episode of Expert in the House. I know, voice sounds a little bit different this time. It's not Donna, it's your host, Petey. We have Amanda Andrews, expert in the house for Deerbrook Realty. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm not doing bad, thank you. So I have zero experience when it comes to real estate.
Okay.
I'm only 24.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean we're not going to have fun, and I have quite a few questions to ask you.
Okay.
So,
well, let me just start by saying, if you paid attention to my last podcast, it told that someone your age should start saving right now.
Yeah. In fact, I feel like my whole life people have been saying I should be saving.
Yeah, absolutely. Put some money aside and stay away from renting. And don't buy an expensive car.
Interesting. I have a idea, or I guess it's not really an idea. It's a pitch that I've heard from a lot of other business people. They say when it comes to realty nowadays, renting is not the way to go, but
No.
to be the renter, to be the tenant, if you can put yourself in a position where you're renting out the apartments and stuff, it's much beneficial to get a bunch of little places and rent them out than it is to just have your one big house and kind of hope that it'll climb in the real estate over the years.
Well, with that being said, you want that so that it will pay for your big house if you have a bunch of little homes.
That makes sense.
Right? So the money that you're collecting should pay for your main mortgage. So, yeah, that's definitely the way to go if you have the funds to do so. But, yeah, at 24, start saving in your sock.
Yeah, I have a few questions. Now, first off, I don't know if this is a normal or appropriate question as far as real estate goes, but
Okay.
on average, just ballpark, how many sales do you think you've done for houses or real estate?
I would have to say I've been doing this for 12 years. So let's just say roughly 20 a year. Over 100 all day.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Oh, yeah. There's been plenty of years that I've been over the multi-million-dollar producers too. So, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go home and I'm going to add up all my houses. But it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, I started young, so.
Well, you must have seen a lot of different places, a lot of different lifestyles and experiences with all the different customers. What was the craziest experience throughout being in real estate?
My craziest real estate experience? Oh, there's a lot. I mean, I always wish I could write a book, after I see something crazy. I think something that stands out to me is, there's always different and difficult transactions that I deal with, but most recently and also in the past, I have, let's just say I had this couple, they sold their home and they had a 90-day close. And I, in between that, I was taking them in and out of, houses and trying to get them to find something so that they could leave their home. And, 30 days till close, they still don't have a home. I thought, whatever, they're going to get a Airbnb or rent out or whatever. And they call me up. They're like, you know what? We decided we don't want to move. I'm like,
No way.
What do you mean? You signed an agreement and it's a cash deal. You're locked in. Yeah, we just don't want to. Oh, okay. You just don't want to. Well, you know what? I have buyers that are coming in 30 days. And then I have those buyers that sold their home that have other people that bought their home. So it's a domino effect of a nightmare just because they are like, we don't want to. So that happened years ago. And that literally was the most stressful situation of my life in real estate. It all worked out. We actually, the other agent ended up posting them in her rental until they found something.
Oh,
as
okay.
crazy as that is, but it worked out. But this just happened to me 3 months ago. Same situation. I just don't want to move. Well, why are you signing offers that have no conditions? You can't do that, Mm-hmm. And that's a problem with the industry today. People they're signing offers and they're, the agents say, are you approved? Are you approved? Yeah, I've been pre-approved. Well, pre-approved is different than approved. So
Yeah.
they're putting in cash offers and they don't have the money. And then what happens? Or there's lawsuits everywhere. So yeah, I mean that just stood out to me because it just keeps happening now, and we're seeing a lot more of it. My office was talking about it too. It's happening left and right.
Do you find that as the younger generations are getting older, there's a little bit more ignorance in what is actually involved when it comes to purchasing a property?
Well, this is gonna put me in a bad situation.
Don't worry, I'm one of those younger individuals, and I look at like the stuff that my even just growing up thinking about a phone bill.
Right.
Like what is a bill? No one taught me, like, unless you have parents that teach you, which obviously everyone usually does, but there is no class for how to buy a house in Canada's real estate. There is no class on how to finance all of your money to make sure that you're set up in the future for this. And I don't know what people learn older like that are in other generations than me, but my generation is very simple-minded. We have a 6-second attention span. Social media did not help at all.
Right.
And I'm just wondering, do you think it played a part in how this generation is buying houses? Do you think it's making them more underprepared, if anything?
Yes and no, because it's hard at the rate that the interest rates are. I mean, that is out of your age group's control, right? It's for you guys to, put down as much money to buy a house today versus what I had to put down for my first house is not even comparable. So that is not your fault. But yeah, I mean, education does help too. I mean, not like we were educated at our age, but the prices were different. The economy was different. So it was a lot easier to purchase a home. Now I think that, us as parents, like I'm a parent, I think that I'm going to end up having to co-sign or buy my child a home at this point, and that's what's scary, right?
It is. And so what do you think is the best, like, what do you think, obviously, without getting it into, like, too political or nothing, I just mean, like, what do you think is something that is causing this interest to just keep going up rather than ever go down, for real estate in particular?
Interest myself, or
interest, on properties, like when people are buying them?
Oh, okay. I mean, a house, the value doesn't decrease, right? Like a car, the value decreases. A house, it's property. I always say buy as much as you can, like play the game of Monopoly, you'll win. The interest, to be alone, like someone your age. You want to get out of your house or your parents' house. You want to do your own thing. You want to put your feet on the table and eat your Cheetos and wipe your Cheetos on the wall. Like, I get it. Like, you want your independence, and everybody should have their independence, but at what cost? $4,200 or $5,200 a month, that's not a cost that I think that is reasonable or explainable. So at that point, you just gotta to be patient. Yeah,
and I think for a lot of people in our generation, it's like a combination of the ignorance, not knowing exactly how big this mountain really is, or how to even come about climbing it. But I think it's also has a giant part in it is the fact that none of us know exactly where it's going to be in the future. Is it going to be lower? Or if we do work towards these goals, will eventually it go better, or will it just always be in this we're chasing it kind of situation?
We need a crystal ball, because I don't know that.
Yeah,
it's so hard to depict, unfortunately.
And it's crazy because I talked to my mom and I asked her, like, how much was the first house you bought? And we actually drive by the house, like she lived around here, and she said she got it for $30,000.
Come on.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm like, $30,000. Yeah. Like,
love that.
It'd be great.
But see, today, for $30,000, you could do that, right? And put 20% down. 100% you could do that.
Absolutely.
But you couldn't do,
Exactly.
It doesn't add up.
Does not add up.
That's crazy, $30,000.
Yeah,
my first home was $150,000, so a little different, but still doable, right?
Yeah. And then you look at like inflation. Mm-hmm. So if a house went from $30,000 to even, let's say, $300,000, that's a 10 times difference.
Right.
But if your paycheck went from being $8 an hour to $20 an hour, that's only a 2 times difference of your income. So everything that you're buying went up 10 times, and your income went up 2 times.
Exactly.
And I think that's just kind of the a lot of people my generation are just, why even try? You know, like it's clearly not gonna. We're not gonna win.
They're giving up.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're at 4.5% interest rates right now. The rumor is they're supposed to decline. The next announcement is September, then one in December. So if we can keep going in that direction, then maybe there is some light at the end of your tunnel. We'll see. But I mean, don't give up.
Yeah, of course not. Of course not. I find that if you are starting from like ground zero and you're going for it, it's the most intimidating it's ever been now than it has ever. And there's a lot of, especially if you're not in the real estate field or you don't really pay attention to what the market's like, a lot of people will just say, oh, you know, that people just don't want to work these days, or they just don't want to do this or that. And we live in a very different climate for real estate than like I've ever heard of from any of my family members growing up. The way they all described it, it's completely different now, and they all say that too. They're all complaining about how everything just keeps going up, nothing's going down. But I'm glad that there is your confidence shows me that there is more than likely going to be a way, obviously.
I feel like there'll be a way for you.
Yeah. So
it might take a few years, though.
Yeah.
Every year it changes, right? So it's hard to, but I see that direction for you.
Well, that's good. And plus, I feel like COVID really didn't help at all.
Well, COVID was a very interesting time for sales because it was like the highest sales we've ever experienced in Windsor.
Interesting.
Believe it or not. Yeah. So people were buying homes sight unseen.
So were you expecting that, or was
No.
that just it was a surprising event?
I was terrified. I was terrified to even show a home, but we were still showing homes, but we were like wearing booties on our feet and masks and like gloves. We couldn't touch anything in the house. It was the strangest thing ever, but people were dying to buy homes. Like real estate agents those years were making more than brain surgeons. Like it was insane. And people didn't even walk through the house, and they were like, we'll buy it cash offer, because the interest rates were so low. So Windsor's market during COVID was the best it's ever been.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, everyone couldn't work.
Yeah, I know. The world is ending, but let's all buy houses.
Yeah. That's interesting outcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was asking you a little bit off the record, how amongst other real estate agents, what is kind of the way that you all measure like status? You know, a hockey player, it's like who can get the most goals, or if they're a goalie, you know, who can save the most shots on net. For a real estate agent, I assumed it would be the amount of houses sold, or like the speed of the house sold, or maybe the price of the house sold. And you kind of described it was a little bit of like all three almost.
Yeah, I would say all three. I think that we can even add to double ending. So double ending is when, you know, I have the listing and then I find the buyer for that listing. So, you know, I'm that good of an agent that I just closed the deal, like the book's closed and I didn't need anybody else's help. So to me, if you can double end, let's just say 10 deals a year, guess what? I'm gonna want to use that agent, because you know what? Maybe because they're working for me, if they double ended, they'll do a commission cut and they'll save me money as a seller. So I think that would be good. But yeah, if the more listings you have, sometimes the more listings you have doesn't mean anything. The listings could just sit, right? And if you don't market things properly, they're going to sit forever. You know, I just see, I'm not going to mention names, but I see some people with their listings and the photos are terrible. I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, the beds aren't even made. And like, you have to go in there and you have to direct your clients and tell them what to do, or stage the home or do whatever. But that kind of stuff sells the home, because if I'm thinking that, what are other people thinking?
Absolutely.
Right. So yeah, I would say all four of those. And I think your name too. I mean, it depends on somebody coming in brand new, unless they, you know, have an OG, you know, mother or father that have been selling real estate for a long time. You're not going to succeed. Like it's too hard. There's 1,500 real estate agents in Windsor. But yeah, if you've been around for a long time and you get your name out there and you get the referral system going, it's good. We used to be able to cold call people. Can't do that anymore because no one really has a landline.
But yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, we go in the phone book and I call this person and I take this page, but you can't do that anymore. And then we'd also, you know, do the door knocking. At the end of the day, no one's going to answer the door anymore.
Yeah.
A real estate agent knocks on my door. I'm like, you're desperate, right? Like, get out of here. You really need people that bad? So it's just different.
Speaking of it being a little bit different, what are the pros and cons of, let's say, buying a new home versus like an old home?
I think today the quality and craftsmanship of the homes back then, I think, are actually better.
You think, okay, kind of like
believe
cars.
it or not, yes. So there was more attention to detail, especially the lumber. So the lumber, today's lumber, the past lumber is termite resistant.
Interesting.
Today's lumber is not.
What do they do? Soak it or something?
Well, they're such in a rush right now to build up everything, right? Like every time you turn, oh my God, there's a new development. They're building this, they're building that. So it's not sitting as long. So the longer that the lumber did sit, the better quality it would be.
I didn't know that.
Yes. So if you buy an older home, if the electrical and plumbing are good, guess what? Buy that house. Because that home will stand probably longer than one of the newer ones. I hope that I'm not going to get shot for saying this. All the new builders are going to hate me, but it's the truth, right? And everybody sees it. It's the quality is there. And even like the floors and everything we use like, laminate. Before it was like original hardwood and stuff. So that would be a pro of buying an older home. A con would be, the newer homes, they come with a tear-on warranty. So a tear-on warranty is 7-year warranty that deal with major like structural defects. So for instance, if there's a crack in the foundation, guess what? It's covered. So if a natural disaster comes in, you're okay. It's almost like an insurance policy, right? So that would be a con of not buying a older home because the newer homes do have that.
Fair.
Right.
Yep.
Also, too, you have to spend money to get your older home to where you want it to be. Modernize it, the paint, the flooring. They'll probably peel off the wallpaper. But I'll tell you right now, the bones of that older home are better than the homes that are being built today.
I would not disagree because I feel like everything built back then just is a lot better. Today we just learned to cut corners and make
fast, multiply everything.
Quality over quantity.
Absolutely.
Or quantity over quality
Yep.
nowadays. Yeah. Yes. Interesting. What would you say is like when you're working in real estate? What's the hardest challenges?
There's a lot. So the hardest challenge initially was to get your license. It took it's a lot of work to get your license. And this is what people get really excited about. They're like, oh, everybody can be a real estate agent. I'm going to go be a real estate agent. Well, first of all, you have to go and take at least 2 years to do courses. And these courses cost money. That money comes from your pocket. No one's going to pay for it but you. And if you don't get 75% on the 3 different types of tests you're taking, you have to repay again and repay again. And it just keeps going. So it's a lot of money. Okay. So fine. You get your license. All is good. But then, I had a girlfriend, she's like, oh, guess what? My husband's going to be a real estate agent. And I said, oh, that's great. That's awesome. She's like, yeah, we're just going to keep the license for 1 year just so he can buy one house. So I'm like, okay. Does he realize how much he has to pay every month? She's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? So these are challenges that people, they don't understand. Like when you come into this business, that there's other fees that are included. Like you have brokerage fees. I pay for brokerage fee. I have a flower fund. I pay for flowers that I don't even know if we buy flowers. I pay for coffee that I don't even drink coffee.
Wow.
Right? Like, so this is money that monthly, not yearly, monthly. Then you have your board fees, which are like $260 a month. You have to pay insurance. All these fees do not deplete. So every month you have to pay for those. You also are responsible for paying for photography, drone, videography. All that money, marketing-wise, is paid by you. And that's something that is hard because this is a cash flow. It's hard. I think real estate agents coming in have a hard time getting used to the cash flow and how to, where to put everything too.
That's a very interesting point. I never really thought of it like that. There's a lot of different areas when it comes to selling a home that just completely went over my head.
But people don't, no one tells anybody that, right? These are when I came in, I didn't know I had a flower fund.
Wouldn't it be a lot easier if they could just make it where if you want to sell a house and if you have the expertise and someone says, hey, can you help me sell this house? It'd be like as if someone was selling a cooking set on Marketplace and they just said, hey, do you know how to list it? Could you list it for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't have to worry about no paperwork or warranties or any
office fees. Yeah, absolutely.
Flower fees. Yeah.
And then another part too that I find that is a challenge is definitely time management. It's a 24-hour job. And thankfully I can work on my cell phone or my computer and just, do all my deals through there. But I find that, I have a hard time with time too, because I have 3 girls at home and I'm in a relationship. And I remember when we were dating, my fiance now, he'd come over, I'd make a beautiful dinner, I'd have wine on the table, everything was good. And guess what? My phone rang. I have a deal. Well, I'm gone for 8 hours in the other room and he's sitting by himself. So like for me to manage my time, and you have to be with somebody that's an understanding of that time management, it's crazy. So it's a 24-hour job. Also, too, another challenging thing are, let's see, the market. No.
Oh, that's okay. What was your fastest sale ever? You were talking about double end deals or whatever. So I'm assuming that would be a fastest sale that you could do. And how fast were you able to get one of those done?
So during COVID, I did 15 double-ended deals. And I would say 10 of those were sight unseen. These people, they just call from Toronto. They didn't even see it. They'd send me their driver's license, transaction, e-transfer, done.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a lot of that. And that's, it was concerning because it's like, are they like legit people? Is this a scam? Like, is this okay? But it all worked out. So yeah, though that during COVID was my highest double ending time.
Okay. And what would you say, as far as in the field of realty, is how can you tell the difference between someone who's maybe, I don't know, there's different areas that they can be doing it for. Obviously, it's a career. Everyone needs money. But there's some people that find they get pride out of their job for giving a family their dream home. Or there's some others that find pride in being able to get the house to sell that they've always wanted to sell. Or maybe they've walked by that house forever and they've always dreamt of selling. I don't know. What's like the art side of real estate that people find pride in?
I would definitely say like helping people find their home. It's almost like you got that finish line for me anyways. I mean, I everybody's gonna have a different answer, but it's such I like a challenge. I want a task. Like, okay, I gotta get these people this. I gotta get 3 bedrooms. I gotta get a pool, this many square footage, and I'm gonna find it. It's almost like I'm matchmaking, Maybe that's
a great analogy for it. Yeah, you're absolutely
I'm
doing
finding
that.
them the perfect match. And once I get that perfect match and they love that perfect match, it's like, yes, I got it. Like, success, I won, and it's fulfilling to me, but it's also fulfilling to me when, they send me a picture and they keep in touch with me and they're so thankful for what I did. So,
that's really cool.
Yeah, that would be the art side for my side.
I would assume you'd have to have a lot of intuition with other people then to be very successful in this job.
You have to be a people person. You absolutely have to be a people person.
I feel bad for the one stone cold real estate.
There is a
monotone
few.
And just
yeah. But you know what? He may be that way, but I bet you he's very book smart. Right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yep. So what was the most absurd thing you've ever seen at a house that you were selling?
Absurd, eh?
Or like funny, like what's like the funniest thing maybe?
Funny? I mean...
Or it could be scary. I don't know.
You know what? Okay, so we'll start with funny. So, I mean, like I said, I've been selling for 12 years. There's just been like a lot of things weird that I've walked into when I like opened the house. So you always have to send a touch base and check with the agent before you go into this house or their listing. And so the key's in a lockbox. So I always knock first, I have permission to go in, I knock, and if no one answers, no one says anything as they open the door, then I walk in. And I walk in with my clients, and, I try not to follow them too much because I hate to be followed when I'm shopping. So if my clients are shopping, I'm not going to follow them because they're not going to be able to talk with me, like, in their ear.
Yeah.
So I remember this one time, we just walked into this house, and my client opens the bedroom door, and she screams, "There's a man sleeping." Like, he was just sleeping in there, right?
Oh, no.
But we walked in, he didn't move. So I'm like, okay, hello, and he wasn't responding.
Oh, no.
So yeah. So we go outside. I call the agent. I'm like, listen, I think your client is, like, sleeping. I said, but I'm, like, trying to talk to him, and he's not being responsive. Anyways, we had to call 911, and he had a heart attack. Like, it was crazy. It wasn't funny. It was like, it was crazy like that. He was, you know, what are the odds that we were in there? So he knew about the showing, but he had a heart attack in the bed. Yeah.
Dang.
So he's alive. All's good.
Wow.
But yeah, to walk in, I mean, I've walked in on some crazy stuff. I walked in, you know, I walked one residential street. There was a horse in the backyard. A horse? I'm terrified of animals. I'm scared of cats. So I walk in the backyard and there's an actual horse. So I don't know how it happened, but it escaped and came in the backyard. So there was a horse in the backyard. A lot of animal droppings, you know, which is, it's hard, but if you have a pet and you're showing your home, the animals just go all over the place. And then of course somebody steps on something and I've lost a cat. I've opened the door and the cat ran out and it was gone. How do you explain that?
I'm sorry for laughing.
How do you explain that? Oh, by the way, I just showed your house and lost your cat. I don't even remember what color it was because it flew by me. You know, like, So,
wow.
Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't think, when you think of like a real estate agent, you think of lots of paperwork, lots of pictures of houses.
Okay.
I didn't know how intricate or like how interesting or entertaining even it could be with the different types of houses that you could sell, the different people that you could meet, the satisfaction, like you said, of being able to match people with their forever home.
Yeah.
There really is like an art to it and like a finesse to it, and it's not just, well, I mean, I guess anybody can go and try to get their license for it, but it really does take a special charismatic person to be able to excel in that field.
For sure.
Was there any other topics that we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about?
So, as a seller selling their home, you're going to have to disclose certain things. So, in this location, Windsor, we disclose if there's mold. I mean, which is pretty visible too. If you were to walk in and you see mold, then, you know, you can figure that out yourself. If the home had a fire or any type of fire damage, if there's been a death in the home, if somebody died in the home, you have to disclose that to your buyers. If I'm selling my home as a real estate agent, I have to disclose that because this is my home, so I'm not making money off my sale, which could make a difference with an offer coming in. So if I have an offer too, then it's less amount, right? And
Okay.
I'm in a competition with the other agent, so I'm obviously going to choose my offer because I'm not going to have to pay myself. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So this person doesn't have to get paid. I won't have to get paid. This person has to get paid. So I'm going to go the cheaper route. So that needs to be disclosed. Also, any commission deals or cuts that are made, we are our own salesperson. If I decide to sell a house to you for free, I can, but I have to disclose that.
Yeah.
So if an agent comes in, they're going to be like, okay, well, here's an offer. I'm like, well, actually, there's no commission on the table. So, yeah. We can do whatever we want, but right now the percentage is usually 5%.
Okay, that's a reasonable number.
So 5%, so 2.5% if you're the buyer agent, and then 2.5% if I'm the seller agent. If I double end it, then I get all of it.
That's really good.
But then if you're a good agent, you'll do a deal. So I'll be like, I'm going to do both for 4%. You know what I mean? Like,
smart.
Yeah, because you want to keep those clients and you want them to refer you to someone else.
Yes.
You want them to be your forever people.
Interesting. There is a disclosure law. I know I'm just randomly out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about real estate, but I do know a thing or two about ghosts.
Okay.
And
geez.
there is a law out in the states, in a few select states, where if anybody has reported like a haunting within the property, the real estate agent has to disclose it.
I love that.
It's I don't know. It's very debatable because
Yeah.
is it there? Is it not there?
I would just say it for fun sometimes.
But you know what I mean? It's like, that could, maybe you have someone who's deathly afraid of ghosts.
Right.
That could significantly impact your sale over
They wouldn't
something
even
that
see
is
it.
debatable. Yeah. Like,
Any house that looks dark and dreary is getting like a haunted alert.
yeah.
I like it.
I don't know. That was just one thing
a
about.
fun fact.
Yeah, a little fun fact about some odd disclosure laws in the States. But. Yeah, no, if you...
You know what? I have an interesting story too.
Oh, okay, let's go.
Okay, so one of my standout stories, in real estate was this was when I first started, so 12 years ago, and the home was listed on Riverside Drive for $90,000, and I won't forget this because it was on Riverside Drive. I thought $90,000, I have the perfect client for it. back then we didn't have the ability to do this on our phones, to send showing requests and everything. We had to actually call the agent or call the office, and then we had to go to the office and pick up the keys to the house. So I went to the office to pick up the keys to this house for Riverside Drive, and the agent goes, well, just make sure you bring gloves and a mask. And keep in mind, this is before COVID. So I'm like, what? What are you talking about, gloves and a mask? And he's like, well, it's the poop house. I'm like, the what? He's like, oh, you'll see. I'm like, okay, like, what's this guy talking about? So I'm like, where do I find gloves and a mask? Like, masks at that time, like, no one had masks. So I ended up getting the mask from my nail tech that does my nails. So she gave me the gloves and the mask, and go to show this house. Anyway, this house, we opened the door, and there was human feces smeared everywhere. Like, the cellar, all over the walls.
Was it out of spite or just like a lunatic?
I have no idea.
Like, oh my
I didn't even walk. I opened the door and then I closed the door. I'm like, oh my God. Like the smell, and my client was like, I want to go in. I'm like, you can go in. I'm not going in. Like, so there was a big joke when, that it was the poop house, right? I mean, I don't even know if that's like proper to say, but it forever in my mind. That smell will forever be in my nose, but that visual.
That
who would buy that? Would you buy that? I would not buy that. Like, oh.
They're eager to go inside too.
Yeah,
I want to see it.
It's like, well, the thing is like when you. Speaking of that though, like when you go into a house and you don't like it, it's almost like starting a puzzle and not finishing it. That's how I explain to my clients. You want us to look around because you're curious. I just want to see what the basement looks like. I just want to see what this area looks like, and that's kind of what he was. It was a puzzle. So once that last piece goes in and he takes a look, he can leave.
That would definitely be one to stay for the storybook.
Right?
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you ain't forgetting anything like that anytime soon.
No, it's still in my head like 11 years later.
Oh, wow. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for taking your time of your day to come in and talk and share a little bit about what you do on the side of realty and answer some of my completely absurd questions.
Yes.
Out of the box questions.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime. This was our episode of Expert in the House. You just heard Amanda Andrews from Deerbrook Realty talk a little bit about the field. It was an interesting one. I never actually had a full conversation that in depth about real estate. It was a nice, pleasant conversation, to say the least.
Now you want to be an agent?
Well, I actually considered it at one point.
Okay.
I did. So I was delivering pizza for a while, and it was right before I got this job.
Okay.
It was either just go get a factory job and just start there, or try to get my real estate license, because my brother just kept suggesting that to me for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
It was just, oh, you should do real estate. You should do real estate. And I looked it up, and I could do it online. I didn't have to actually go to a school to do it. I could if I wanted to, but yeah, it was just an option that I strongly considered. I didn't end up doing it, but
you could still do it. Just make sure you have something else to fund you through.
yes, good plan.
So do both. Why
Why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, just start selling a bunch of properties.
And then we can talk about our different stories.
Yeah, and then I'll actually
Yeah.
I'll have some more proper knowledge and information to share.
And I can question you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
There we go.
All right.
Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
And stay tuned for the next episode coming out next week of Expert in the House. Take care, everyone.